A lot of kids, unfortunately, just go to school to eat lunch. And that's the only meal they'll have all day. Just imagine having the weight of the world on your shoulders and you're trying to do calculus. Like, I'm not feeling that.
So that was Mr. George Greene, and he's the principal of the Dekalb School of the Arts, and at one point he was my own art teacher. He's somebody who cares a lot about his students, and I reached out to him the other day to see how he's doing during this whole coronavirus thing, and he told me that he's been passing out meals to different students in his district, and I thought that was really cool. So I asked him if he'd like to be interviewed. He said yes, and what you're about to see is a conversation that goes all over food insecurity, healthcare, lack of access to technology, racial inequality, art, beautiful things, silver linings. We cover a lot. And I really enjoyed having the opportunity to speak with him. And I also really look forward to sharing this information because I think that he's somebody with a very unique perspective and tons of information, frankly, tons of experience. And he's really living it, and he's really just a good person. So please enjoy the following, and I hope that you learn from it as much as I did.
My name is George Greene. I am an educator and an artist. I have been in the field of education for 15 years. I served as an art teacher at a number of schools and assistant principal at the school I currently am at, as well as principal at a small charter school, and I'm now principal of this school in DeKalb County. And what our school does is it's a magnet school that serves students that are in the special interest of areas in the arts. We have 8 arts majors that we serve students in. They can also take courses in these major areas as their minor. And we offer arts courses to those students every single year of their high school career. Our school is one of the top 10 high schools in the state of Georgia perennially. We are a governor's honor school, a platinum level, and we are also a silver level school by U.S. News and World Report, ranked number 262 nationally and ranked number 1 in the state of Georgia for arts schools. So excellent opportunity for our students in the arts as well as other fields, because we know kids that excel in the arts excel in whatever they want. I'm lucky and blessed to be where I am doing what I do.
So, who are these kids coming in?
We serve all of DeKalb County. Our kids come from the North End, Dunwoody, Tucker, Chamblee. They come from the South End, Southwest DeKalb, uh, East Side, West Side. We serve students from everywhere. Our student population is reflective as far as race, reflective of what's available in DeKalb County. We're 67% African American. There's an imbalance between male and female. We have about 78% of our students that are female. And one of the things the district says is that we don't have sports, and that's keeping us from getting our male population in. But that's something that we're working on. And we do want to encourage more male students to come to our school. But I think it's really empowering to see that a school that's mostly female, mostly Black female, and really a lot of Black female from your lower socioeconomic areas in DeKalb County are very, very successful, not only in high school, but the students that we follow that go off to college and into their career fields are extremely successful as well. So it is a testament to the schooling that we do at our school and the service that we provide to those students to offer them better opportunities.
What does that schooling look like?
Our schooling is rigorous. Most schools in DeKalb County either do a 4x4 block or offer 7 periods per day per semester. We at DSA offer 8, and 2 of those courses, like I said, at minimum are arts courses. We also offer instruction in 3 world languages. And for a school our size, only 437, that's very, very impressive for a public school. We also offer 17 AP courses. And in addition to that, we have a requirement of performance. They can usher a show, they can tech a show, they can perform in a show, they can do ticket sales, anything. And our shows are all student run. They run the entire show from top to bottom, rehearsals and everything. Our teachers are just there for oversight. And giving those kids that type of responsibility allows them to, just gain a little confidence in themselves, and it does prepare them for the future ahead. An example of that, We have a student right now that's working with the Rialto, and he's a student at Georgia State, and he got that job that most people need a degree to get before he even enrolled at Georgia State because of his training that he got at DSA.
Wow. So it sounds like a lot of this is very hands-on. And
Absolutely.
right now we're in the middle of a pandemic. So what does that look like? How does this like translate online for the kids?
It's terrible. Um, some of our teachers are doing an excellent job of trying to accommodate our students. Our dance department, for instance, does dance lessons every other day because we're on an every other day schedule in DeKalb. So every Monday and Wednesday, they're doing dance lessons via Zoom and Google Classroom. And our visual art teacher does instructional lessons on Google Classroom using Google Hangouts, as well as having her critique periods online as well. So we are able to use the technology that's available to have face-to-face instruction. The big issue is, unfortunately for our students and many students in DeKalb County and a lot of students in urban centers across the country, the availability of technology is just not there. We were able to have our students enroll in a one-to-one program earlier in the year. So all 437 of our students do have district-issued laptops. The problem with that is that they don't have two-way video. So the video and audio has been disabled on those devices. So unless you have a device at home that's yours that you're able to use, you're not able to interface with the teacher one-on-one. And that does create, unfortunately, a disparity for some of those kids that don't have that technology readily available.
How are the teachers addressing this disparity?
Well, district-wide, there's been an initiative to, address the disparities in different ways. One way is to provide paper lessons for the students in core areas for them to pick up. We have several sites in the district, like 21 at this point, that are meal sites where students can pick up a free lunch and a free dinner. And when they're picking up those lunches, some of the teachers are available there to hand the students a work packet to take home. For our students, since we are one of the more privileged schools, we can assume that many of our students do have technology. And even the ones that have the district issued technology, we're not requiring them to interface one-on-one, but we are offering them recorded lessons so that they can get the information. But the unfortunate part is that they're not able to go back and forth with the teacher.
And I know in Atlanta, a lot of people rely on public transportation, right, to get places. And so I've seen the buses running, but that doesn't really seem like the wisest thing right now for people, like if you don't have a car. So are there students that you know of who like just aren't able to get either the meals or the packets from the teachers?
Yeah, there are quite a few students. And I don't know that that our district's done this. I've seen other districts do it, but they've packed up school buses and they've ridden around and passed out meals in different apartment complexes and community centers that are within walking distance of some of their highly concentrated areas of students that receive free and reduced lunches. But once again, you're creating another gap there. If you're serving the students that are identified that need to receive free and reduced lunch, that's great, but you may be missing out on some people that were not previously on that list for whatever reason, if they didn't fill out the paperwork to do it, or now they need to be on that list because mom was working a pretty lucrative job at a restaurant and now she's laid off. We have a mom that's a single mom of 6, that's a nurse, and she contracted coronavirus and is not able to work. So, we're not sure if we're able to address those kids that aren't able to get into a car, aren't able to drive, aren't able to ride public transportation to receive these meals, and don't have a parent that's able to do it for them. So we are unfortunately, not just our district, but nationwide, missing some of those kids. I do know the Atlanta Food Bank has done a lot to reach out to people. I believe some other community organizations, fraternities and sororities, have done a lot to reach out to people. But it's difficult to find those folks when they're not communicating their need to you. Yeah. But also it's difficult, like you're saying, when the capacity of the school districts is not there to provide that type of service. For instance, my school sits in an area that would serve an underserved community, but because of the size of the school, we're not able to serve meals at our site. So our students would receive their meals wherever's closest to their home. But we do have a large number of students that live in the Belvedere Park area that attend Towers High School, Columbia High School, and McNair High School that may be able to get to our school easier and faster than they would their home school. So it would behoove the district to use our school as a meal site, but it may not be advantageous for them because of money or facilities or finances.
Okay. What would be the cost associated with opening up your school as a site?
It would be difficult for our folks to actually make enough meals. So we would probably require more staffing, which could benefit some people in the community that have lost jobs, that have the certifications that are necessary to be a cafeteria worker. I don't know if the district has explored that since this may be short term, but if we could, use a little foresight and see that this may be the thing for the next 2, 3, 4 months even, it may behoove them to kind of put some postings up and say, we're offering work to temporary employees, folks that were working at restaurants that closed, folks that had some plant jobs. You may have a Safe Serve certification. You could probably come into a cafeteria and make an hourly wage for 3 or 4 months and serve this community. But I think from the district level, if I had to use my 10,000-foot view and think about what they're thinking at the district level, they may say, okay, we're serving at our large locations. This may be enough, and then we've got to kind of move on to some other things. But if someone asked me, would you go to your school and open it every day to be a meal serving site? Absolutely.
Who exactly is the district? Who is the district?
Who is the district? Ooh, that's a big question. So all school districts are operated by a school board, and everybody thinks it's a superintendent, but the superintendent actually works for the school board. The school board is a group of elected officials that is elected by the people of that district, and our district has 7, and then the superintendent pretty much operates the school district that serves almost 110,000 students, over 6,000 employees, in a very, very large area at 137 schools and sites. So when you say it like that, it seems like a lot. They're pretty much a CEO of a large corporate facility that spans, I'd say, well over 100 square miles. It's a big responsibility. Coming down from the superintendent, of course, she has a number of deputy superintendents, and then DeKalb County specifically is split into 7 regions. And then each region has its own superintendent, a set of coordinators and clerical staff. And then under each region sits principals of a number of buildings. I think in my current region, there are 21 or so schools, 3 of them being high schools. So the district, when we say the district, we're talking about, the fat cats that sit in the seats over at the county office, the superintendent, deputy superintendents, those folks. When they're coming up with decisions and they're, in their nice leather chairs, I do know that many of them served as teachers and principals in the buildings, and they know what's out there. But there's a lot to consider. I feel bad for them sometimes because it's a lot on their shoulders, and they do have to make some pretty serious decisions to deliver to us, and it's up to us to do the work they need us to do.
Yeah, and I mean, especially with what's going on right now, this is such an unprecedented thing. I feel like a lot of people are learning as they go with what works. But I know that you were telling me that you're a part of giving food to people, or you go to the school to do that. And what does that look like?
So they asked for volunteers to go to school sites, and I just had treatment, so I can't really go, but because I have to definitely social distance myself for my own health. But there are people that are continuing to go every day to just pass out bags or bag food up, or line people up to make sure they're picking up what they need to pick up. I have seen, I think Fulton County pack people up on school buses, and they're passing out trays of meals to people that are brown bagged. Over spring break, they were asking people to come help pack up lunches and dinners for the week so that people could refrigerate them and heat them as needed. And I think that was great because, frankly, a lot of kids, we've been blessed, and I know there's a lot of kids, unfortunately, just go to school to eat lunch. And that's the only meal they'll have all day. Mom and dad may not be able to put food on the table at night, or they may be out of the house, or they may be at work. You really never know. And there are a number of kids that I've seen in my years teaching that say, this is the only meal that I'll have all day. And they'll fight you tooth and nail if you take any piece of it. And, that it's great that we're able to provide that as a service as a school district.
Yeah, that breaks my heart that there's so many kids who that's what they rely on for their food. So yeah, it's really important, I think, that the districts are doing so much, and like individuals such as yourself are doing so much to make sure that these kids get something to eat. But that like opens up a whole nother problem that it's like exacerbated by corona, but it would be there otherwise, the fact that there's so many kids who aren't getting meals.
Not only that, I think it's exposed what we've known in our country as a healthcare crisis. I've seen within my school folks that I've known, either employees or students that have been affected by the virus. There have been an overwhelming number of Black and brown people that have been either displaced by their jobs, or they don't have the health insurance and they don't want to go get checked on, or they get turned around the hospital because their symptoms aren't taken seriously, and they get sent home. And we unfortunately had a coworker in the district that recently passed from coronavirus, and she went to go get checked on. They sent her home, and her husband was taking her back to the hospital, and they were sending her home again. And I think the big reason is that they just didn't take her symptoms seriously. And we unfortunately lost her, and she was a woman of color. And that's come up in the news, and people will say, it's fake news. That's the lying media trying to start something. But I mean, as a person of color, that's something that I experienced too. And I think they try to throw things off on your diet, or just being a person of color, you're more susceptible to having diabetes or other things like that, where if you have the finances, you can get treated for things easier. I know as a young teacher and a single parent, there were days where I didn't want to go get checked on because I was afraid of the medical bill that would come behind it. And we have some folks dealing with that right now. And it's a really bad time to deal with that, to say, I'm really afraid to go to the emergency room because I don't have $200 to pay for somebody to look at me. Mm-hmm. And in this healthcare crisis, I think this exposes a lot of that very thing, to where, I'm no socialist or anything, but I mean, when it comes to the socialist healthcare ideal, I think this would be a time where we could see it would be necessary to make sure that, we're preserving all those rights that we said that we wanted to deliver to the people of America as Americans. Then people aren't getting proper healthcare out there, and unfortunately, we're losing people because of it.
Yeah, it's interesting too to see how that's like permeating everything, like whether you're a teacher, whether you're just like someone who's living on the street, because I've been going to the grocery store and I've been seeing so many like homeless people, and I can only imagine as well like what that kind of experience is like right now.
Yeah. On NPR, they were saying that the homeless population in New York City is 70,000, and in Los Angeles, 60,000 on Skid Row. How many people are living on the street dealing with this, and they don't even know it, or they can't get checked on? They may have a cough and they say, I had a cough for years because I smoked, and it could be coronavirus, and they could be out there dying on the street because nobody's able to check on them. A homeless guy can't get up off the street and walk into Cedars-Sinai and get treated properly because he doesn't have a health insurance card and he doesn't have a checkbook with him. That's unfortunate. And we got to do better as a country.
Like these pre-existing crises are really being exacerbated.
I can tell you some of the conversations I've had with kids specifically is that they're stressed out because, mom's laid off, or mom is sick and she can't go to work. I grew up in a single parent home, and my mom really didn't do a lot of communicating on the finances. She just kind of said, I'm taking care of it, or this is going to be late, or we're going to deal with this, however. And even though my mom didn't, express some of the issues that were going on, I felt it. So I could only imagine if, single mom comes home and says, hey guys, I lost my job at Popeyes and I can't pay the rent next month. That's a huge stressor on a kid, and they're not thinking about school, to be perfectly honest. They're thinking about, what can we do to keep the lights on? What can we do to stay out of the streets and be safe? And when you come to the hierarchy of needs, that's the number one. Kids don't have that, they're definitely not going to perform in school, and we've known that for decades.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that you've been seeing with the students right now? Do you think that homelessness is on the line for a lot of these kids or for any of them?
Yeah, unfortunately. And not just our kids. I mean, if you think district wide, we have kids that before the pandemic were probably on the verge of homelessness, if not already homeless. And, homeless isn't just living on the streets downtown. The definition of homeless via the McKinney-Vento Act is not having a permanent residence. And so, people can call their car home or an RV home or uncle's house next month and friend's house this next month home. If you do not have a permanent residence that you can call your own, you're homeless. When I was at Tucker High School, we had a large number of kids that were living in extended stay motels or cars or RVs. And that's no way for a child to come up. But, parents are either doing what they have to do, or in some cases, unfortunately, some of these kids are taking care of themselves. And they're 17, emancipated, 18 adults, and they're out there on their own trying to make it and finish up a high school diploma. That's very, very difficult. And even on top of that, some of them have children themselves, and they have to get them to daycare. Some of them have to get them to school, and they have to go to school themselves. So just imagine having the weight of the world on your shoulders, and you're trying to do calculus. I'm not feeling that, and I get it. So this, like you said, exposed a lot for kids, for us, for these kids' lives. But even before this happened, we had kids dealing with that, and they weren't doing the best. So I could only imagine how the number of homeless youth could balloon as a result of the pandemic, just the economic effects of it.
Okay, what do you want people to take away from this?
I think what we could see in this country, and I think some people are showing it, is that we could be a little kinder and gentler to each other, and to help people get through hard times. And I think this helped a lot of people realize that this could happen to anybody. I think we need to realize that, we can't just look down on the next man because they're not doing what we're doing. And when people fall on hard times, we can't just say, well, it's your fault. Good luck, fella. We do need to just kind of love on each other more, and really think about how that could be you, or even how it was you, and how people treated you, or how people could treat you in that situation. It doesn't hurt to give somebody time. It doesn't hurt to give somebody $1, $2, $5. If we all got together and helped out our fellow man in a time of need, I think that'll make the world a better place. And now that more people are in their time of need, I think we'll be able to see that. And I think we all could learn some valuable lessons from this experience.
And one of us suffers, like we all suffer.
Yeah.
For sure. I was wondering, do you see any silver linings in this situation?
Conversely to that, I do see some great stories when I'm listening to the radio or watching TV. I see people reaching out to lend a hand. Tyler Perry, who's notorious for just throwing money at people, paid seniors grocery bills at 70 some odd different grocery stores here in the New Orleans area. There are people that are just, paying for folks coffee, or getting them a tank of gas, or I even saw where a guy decided he was going to give up all his Airbnbs for free for people that had lost their job in the hotel restaurant industry. And, he's got several homes that he owns for Airbnb, and he's opening them up for people to live in for the next 2 months rent free. And he could be Airbnb-ing them out, or even just taking care of them. And he decided to do that because he's a have, and he wanted to give back to the have-nots. And I think seeing more stories like that really just shows you the power of the human spirit. And also stories like the ones over in Europe, especially where these folks are concentrated and isolated in these areas, and they're stepping out on their balconies and they're playing music for each other and they're interacting. And you know they crave that human interaction and they're going to seek it. And once again, just doing things like that to make the world a kinder and gentler place. I think if we're able to hold on to some of the lessons that we're learning from this, outside of just seeing how fragile the economy is, but just if we're able to learn some of those lessons and you know really remember what it was like to go without human touch and remember what it was like to go through that hard time and consider your fellow man next time you see somebody down on their luck. I think those lessons, that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing people learn. And that's kind of a silver lining in all of this, that, you know, through the hardship that we collectively are experiencing, we'll be able to, build ourselves and build each other. I will say that once we're out of this pandemic, please stay tuned to our website at dsa.decab.k12.ga.us, or you can just look us up on the internet, Dekalb School of the Arts. We have a number of shows that we host either monthly or bi-monthly, either at our facility or facilities in the area, and come out and support our students. Our ticket prices are reasonable, $4 for students, $12 for adults. So come out and see our talented kids and contribute to their programs. Shameless plug.
So that was Mr. Greene, and thanks to those of y'all who watched this video. I really appreciate it. And my goal with this video and with the other one I did at the farm stand is to document what community leaders are doing during this corona crisis, because I think there are so many amazing people who are coming together to do the right thing, to help people out during what is an unprecedented event in global history. And I'm very proud of Atlantans and my fellow Atlantans for the work that they're doing, and I think that they deserve the spotlight. And I also think that this information inspires and uplifts, while at the same time keeping us informed and educated as to what's going on just in our community, in the globe. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be doing this.